Winnie the Pooh already taught us how to slow down and live a cottagecore-esque life since he technically is the king of cottagecore. So I finished the Tao of Pooh and it drove home the fact that Winnie is the king of cottagecore and slow living. He teaches us via stories, and the book uses examples of different situations and stuff to kind of highlight and advocate for different staples that are found in slow living cottagecore communities that I would like to consider myself a part of, though I am growing every day. I thought it would be cool to do a Winnie the Pooh themed cottagecore slow living type of day and take you along with me while I highlight pieces of the book and Winnie the Pooh in general that advocate for slow living and a more cottagecore-esque way of life.
The uncarved block. I believe when people think of adopting a slower lifestyle or cottagecore lifestyle, they may think they cannot incorporate any part of it because they don't live in a cottage, have to be in the city, or they think they need a lot of time to begin to integrate aspects of a slower lifestyle. The uncarved block, which is Winnie the Pooh, emphasizes a key part of slow living, which is highlighting things in their natural state, including people. A key aspect of slowing down or living a cottagecore lifestyle tends to be practicing gratitude and celebrating the natural world around us. This day, I chose to do one of the most simple and free ways of doing this, and it was spending time at a park, observing spring's seasonal beauty. Sometimes when I do an activity, it's like very purposeful. I'm trying to get myself to slow down, put my phone down more even while I'm outside, which is why I'll do something like watercolor painting. I found this little flower. I thought it was pretty, and I began to mix the colors to try to get the exact purple. I still have to look up what type of flower it is, but doing something like this or reading helps to slow you down. You can also just lay down and tap into those senses that tend to be overstimulated by daily modern life, taking in what you can hear, smell, see, feel, and even taste. Because I swear I can taste certain places in the air, like the water, or if it's going to rain, or even snow if it's in the winter time. Yes, it sounds simple, but it's a mindfulness practice that I love, and I think it's pretty awesome to help you tap into that slow life side. Speaking of slowing down, slowness and stillness are highlighted in the Tao of Pooh, which are advocated in slow living. I love that I found this title visual because it shows a part of the story that highlights one of my favorite examples in the book. In the Tao of Pooh, the author uses part of Winnie the Pooh's story of trying to find home but ending up at a sand pit over and over and over. While Pooh tries to slow down and become curious about the situation and the problem that's ahead, Rabbit kind of wants to barrel ahead and continue with his linear mindset and what should be happening if A goes to B. Rabbit shuts down Pooh's attempts and ideas to try to look for home alone. Pooh and Piglet continue on their own after waiting for a while, and my favorite part states, "But Pooh," cried Piglet, all excited, "do you know the way?" "No," said Pooh, "but there are 12 pots of honey in my cupboard, and they've been calling to me for hours. I couldn't hear them properly before because Rabbit would talk. But if nobody says anything except those 12 pots, I think, Piglet, I shall know where they're calling from." That, to me, is what the slowness and stillness advocated for in Slow Living reveals. When we slow down, find the quiet and still place, we hear the voice that calls us to the place we belong. That voice can be your internal voice, not influenced by any outsiders, be it media, to strangers, to friends, or even your inner child. That slowness and stillness gives it space to be heard. And for Winnie the Pooh, that voice was from 12 honey pots, but it led him home all the same. Honestly, I thought doing this cross-stitching kit that I got to kind of prep myself into getting into embroidery would bring me a pocket of meditative stillness when I got into the swing of it, but it actually became frustrating because it did not come with the needle that was printed on the packaging. I still ventured forth and put the embroidery hoop together with the Winnie the Pooh fabric. He is adorable, sitting there with the bumblebee. I put it together and it was relatively easy. I have, I believe, 2 other embroidery hoops waiting for when I actually fully take on this hobby, but I don't believe I have the correct needles because later on I went to find if I bought the needles when I got the embroidery hoop and some of the thread that you embroider with, but I could not find those needles. I ended up using a larger needle that I had. After going to get some tea and giving up on finding that set of needles, I attempted with the larger needle and ran into the issue of creating too large of a hole to continue with a cross stitch. I could not believe that it didn't come with the needle. I started looking, I'm like, maybe it, I dropped it on accident or it popped out, but I could not find the needle. I really don't think they put it in there, but it's okay. For my next attempt, I tried to use a hand sewing needle that I had from like a little hand sewing kit to like sew on buttons and like little holes that I would get in my clothes. When I tried with the hand sewing kit, the needle was so small it came out over and over from the top and from the fabric. I had to put this aside until another day. I blame my low frustration tolerance when trying to do this after work. That's why I read, or I've started writing and journaling again. The last aspect of slow living taught by Winnie is flow. The author explains that Wu Wei, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, is like that of water flowing over and around the rocks in its path, not the mechanical straight line approach that usually ends up short-circuiting natural laws, but one that evolves from an inner sensitivity to the natural rhythm of things. To me, that literally says go with the flow or be like water. My seedlings were doing so well when my sister's cat nation attacked. I was on my way to work, about to escalate from frustrated to angry, when I stopped myself and began to look at the situation differently. What opportunities opened up for me that I didn't see amidst becoming anger? I chose to take this as a sign to repot my plants and put them in a new home, because it was almost time to start to get them adjusted to being outside anyway. So later that day, I dropped my internal rabbit and anxious piglet to become more like Pooh and flowed with the rocks or the lows that were happening during that day of my life. Because I plan to do this for an extremely long time as far as growing food, and I'm sure I'll have to deal with other outside critters and friends attacking the food. So which Winnie the Pooh characters are you like, and do you think Winnie has a tie to slow living? And until next time, stay whimsical, stay cozy.